Hello, good morning. Good to have you all here today with me. So today we're going to be focusing on our ears and our eyes and our felt sense. And video isn't responding. That's okay, no problem, Linda. It's not a big deal. You can try again if you want to in a little bit. So yeah, but today what I'm going to encourage you to do is I know a lot of you sit outside and some of you choose to sit inside. So if you're one of the people who are sitting inside today, and your reason for doing so was that you didn't want to be a little bit uncomfortable, I'm going to encourage you to go sit outside for the next chunk of time. It's only going to be about 20, 25 minutes because what we're going to focus on today, I think, will really be well received if you're in the elements that your birds are in. Now, if you are staying inside because it's really terrible outside, or maybe you have somewhere to go right after, whatever your reasons are, that's totally fine. You don't have to be sitting outside. But if it's just because you don't want to be a little uncomfortable right now, I'd say bundle up and get out there. Or do whatever you need to do to get out there, because we're going to put ourselves in the bird's shoes or feet or talons, whatever you might call it, claws right now, and get into their senses. So let's get started. So once you found your comfortable place to sit, just let yourself feel that experience right now. Wherever you are, just notice, what is it like to be in your own skin in this moment, in this place? Just see what comes up. If there's some discomforts, that's just take that as a note. You're just noting what's arising for you. And if there's some joy or good feelings, just take note of that as well. Try and do that without judgment. And so if you are choosing to stay inside today, at least if you can crack your window so you can listen and feel the air outside, that'd be great. So now just notice what it's like to have your feet on the earth. Feeling that connection. Again, most of you probably have a floor between you and the earth, and maybe a couple levels, it's possible. And that's just fine. The earth is underneath us. So notice what it's like to feel that sense of the connection with the earth from the soles of your feet. See if you can tap in the same way that a tree's root, its big taproot, goes down. Imagine that you have two big taproots going down from the soles of your feet, and just see if you can tap into that sense of groundedness and rootedness, that stability that comes with having roots somewhere. And then as you let your roots spread out into the earth as they do, also imagining that your senses and your awareness are spreading out in all directions all around you. And first today we're going to start with our ears. So we're just going to send our awareness out with our ears, noticing the sounds on the landscape around us. Just seeing which sounds are the most prominent, maybe the ones that are calling your attention the most. And good job, Claudia. And then just notice the juxtaposition between the more subtle sounds, the ones maybe you didn't notice at first. See if you can find those, and what direction are they coming from? How high up are they? And then explore the parts of your landscape where you haven't been listening. Maybe the parts where it doesn't seem like there's any sound, even quiet ones. And just see if you can find something, find a sound, find some noise in that direction. Now, while you're still listening, you're tapping into the sounds around you. I want you to come back to yourself and see if your sense of yourself has shifted or changed at all since you first sat down. Just noticing your heart rate and your breath. Has anything shifted or altered? What does it feel like to be in your body in this moment right now today? Okay, and now if your eyes are closed, you can go ahead and gently open them and find a point off in the distance to focus your eyes on first. And then, as most of you all know to do, once you find that point, stay with your eyes focused on it, but then allow the rest of your vision, your peripheral vision, to soften and just start to expand it. So notice as if it were a droplet of water, and the ripples are going to go out further and further and further onto the landscape. So just noticing how far out in all directions you can see right now. Noticing if there's any motion or movement that's calling your attention. You can focus on that for a minute if you want to, if you get curious about it. And otherwise, just notice the motions. Be aware if you're still listening. Are you still hearing the sounds you heard when you first came out, or have they shifted? And so now, one last time, we're going to take stock of our own body, noticing what our felt sense, our own experience is like sitting in this place this morning that we're sitting. Good work. And so now we're going to play a little bit, and you get to pretend. So I want you to either find a bird that is on your landscape right now, one that you can see, one that you think might be there for a little bit. And if for some reason you actually can't see a bird in this moment, maybe there's no one around or you can't actually see one, I want you to think about where, like, all of us have birds that are frequent our homes. And so I want you just to think about a bird that stops by your house on a regular basis. And I want you to think about where that bird would be sitting on your landscape. Is it somewhere that you can see right now? So if maybe there's a tree that often has a cardinal or something singing from it or sitting. And I want you just to imagine that you are that bird. So I'd like you to just choose one bird right now, whether it's a bird that you know but isn't present in the moment, or a bird that you actually are able to watch right now. And I just want you to let yourself be in that bird's experience. So even if you're imagining it and remembering, recalling what that bird does, just put yourself in that bird's feet for a moment and just notice what experience you're having. And to give you something to focus on a little bit, we'll start with our eyes. So, as if you were that bird, I want you just to look around and look around from that bird's perspective, from that tree branch or that top of the rock, whatever it might be. Just notice what would that bird see from its vantage point. So, just using your eyes as if they were the bird's eyes, noticing what that bird would be perceiving right now. Just noticing how much you would be using your eyes compared to your other senses right now as that bird. And now you can go ahead and bring in the sensation of hearing, the sense of hearing. So, as that bird, wherever it may be right now, what is that bird hearing? What is it paying attention to? And we'll just sit like this for a little while. Good work. That was on cue. So stay with your birds. Don't be mine just now. So welcome, Kim. I see we have someone who just joined us. We are putting ourselves in the body of a bird in our yard, whether we see one or we just know that there's one that's always there. So we just a moment ago had focused on our eyes, and now we're focusing on what that bird might be hearing. And as on cue, I want you to imagine, could you also, if you were singing, if that bird was singing right now, what would you sound like? And also, what other sounds would you hear once you started singing as that bird that you're being? And then just allow yourself to play back and forth between the sights that you're seeing as that bird and the sounds that you're hearing. Nice. And so now we're going to add another layer on there. So I want you to now imagine, what is it? What does that bird feel? So not the emotion feeling, but like physically, like what does it feel like to be that bird either holding onto a branch or walking on the earth? Maybe it's stepping in water. Like maybe it's actually flying right now. So just imagine, what does that bird feel in its body or on its body when it touches what it's touching? Can you feel that for yourself right now? And now you can bring all that together. So, what the bird is seeing, what it's feeling with its own body, and what it's hearing. And then now layer on top of that what it's feeling like emotionally inside. Now, do your best to keep your own emotions, your own thoughts about what the bird might be feeling emotionally, and just see if you can actually tap into what that bird might be feeling, whether you're actually seeing a bird or just imagining a favorite or a friend that visits your yard often. And so now, with all of that in your experience, I want you to look around a little bit and notice who are your best friends, whether or not they actually like you or you actually like them, but who are the ones that you spend the most time with? And are they near? Are they in trees or bushes or on the ground far away? Can you not see them right now, but maybe you can hear them? So, who are the other friends that often hang out with your bird friend? And from your bird's vantage point, what are you noticing about these other ones? What do you think about them? Are you aware of them? Do you care that they're around? How close when they come closer? Are you comfortable with them coming closer? And go ahead and just look around your yard and think about all the favorite spots or perches that you have as this bird. So you might have that one that you really love, but where are the other places that you spend time around the yard? And then just consider, how far have you traveled away from these favorite places? What's the furthest away that you've traveled from this home? Good work, everybody. So take the next couple of minutes and just offer your own sense of gratitude or blessing to those ones that you interacted with today, especially this one bird that we called our attention to today. Good work. So nice job, everybody. Thanks for playing along. And as always, if you need to go right now, you're welcome to head out. And I thank you for coming. And if you'd like to stay and chat with us, if you're able to turn your monitor on, that's wonderful. I love seeing who I'm talking to. And yeah, if you'd like to share something from your experience this morning, just go ahead and raise your hand. But I'd love to hear what that was like for folks. What came up for you? What did you notice? Is there something you learned about the bird that you connected with? And just let us know where you're calling in from and which bird you were connected to. You're welcome, Joy. Mhm. Yeah, go for it, Cheryl. Oops, you're muted, my friend.
I connected with the I'm doing brain fade. The pygmy nuthatch that is in my yard, and it flits around and it is always hungry. And it was listening to all the other birds that hang out in the yard, hummingbirds, crows, and the dark-eyed juncos. And it isn't afraid of any of them, but it thinks that the acorn woodpecker is a bossy. It loves the yard, and it rarely goes further than about 2 blocks away, because the neighborhood is so filled with just exactly what it wants to eat and lots of safe environments. I don't think it feels frightened. And it makes me feel wonderful because they come by every single day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a really well-known friend in that way. Thank you, Cheryl. That's awesome. Thank you for letting us into the experience of the pygmy nuthatch through your eyes this morning. Thank you. Yeah. Someone else want to share their experience and whatever came up for you emotional? Yeah, Kim, go for it.
Well, it's minus 20 here today, Celsius. So it's completely quiet and I'm in the city. Normally we don't have a lot, but usually there's a robin or a junco or a hairy or downy woodpecker right in the city, occasional blue jay. Unfortunately, being in the city and near ravine systems, I can't have a bird feeder because of the rat system. So I usually go out to hear my birds, but I'm always excited when I find one in the backyard and watch their behavior. Oh, cardinals as well. So I used your bird. But what was I listening to? What was he?
Oh yeah. Anyone else have a guess of the song that you heard singing when he came on? Some people.
And where are you located?
Yeah, so I'm in South Carolina right now, and
Okay.
that was a Carolina wren who was singing.
Okay,
Mhm.
so I thought I didn't know where you were. I thought it might have been because we do have them here. And I did see one at Christmas time. They're not prevalent, but you certainly can't miss their song. I'm not good enough to declare that that was the Carolina Wren, though,
No, that's
without you saying it.
yeah. So what was it like for you to imagine yourself being that bird and to sort of put yourself in its feet for the day? What was that like?
Well, I don't know that I was in tune as much as I could have been because I joined late, but I honestly saw him sitting on a branch, singing away happy. They always sound happy. So I don't know if they've got other songs that are not happy, but to me, he just brought joy. It just was that he's a happy singer.
Awesome. Well, that's one. I'm glad that you tapped into the Carolina wren and that you have them around you, and that'll be a good one to listen for, to listen to the other vocalizations that he may have. So now there's like a little curiosity or game you can play with yourself
Mhm.
of starting to listen more deeply out there. Yeah. Thanks, Kim. I appreciate that. Yeah. Awesome. Anyone else want to share their experience this morning? What was it like for you to be a bird today, and a particular bird at that? Yeah, go for it, Kathy. And then Linda.
Well, for me, it was I'm inside because it's -10, maybe worse, snowing, blowing. I opened my front door. That's why I'm bundled up because all this cold there. But to imagine, I was thinking of a chickadee because we have quite a few of those around, and it was really kind of easy for me to imagine what they might be doing. They flit, they're very aware, they're quick, their song is sweet, short. Um, what was hard is to imagine what it might be feeling. I think probably cold, looking for where it was going to go next after it went to the bird feeder. But it gave me the idea that next time I go out and I do sit like that, I'll really tap into that. I think and thank you for sharing. I think that's going to give me a nice new awareness of that little bird and other birds around it. But yeah, I think with the cold, it was hard to really, my imagination was there, but I kept thinking, well, how long are you going to keep that door open? But I'm looking forward to exploring that more. And also a lot of geese are around. If I had the hoot spot, I'd walk up to the lake and see what they were doing and think about how they were feeling. But I think everything's pretty cool today. So, but thank you. Lovely, lovely
Yeah,
sit.
Kathy, you're welcome. And I just love that you tapped into the chickadee, and they're a great one, especially during storms, man. Chickadees are, yeah, fierce little buggers, and I'm excited that you're curious to learn more and just like tap into them more in your yard. So well done. Well done. Yeah. Yeah. Miss Linda, go for it.
Oh, jeez.
I think you're muted. Oh, we got your audio or your visual back, but you got muted again. I can I can click the button for you to ask you to unmute. I might even be able to unmute you myself at
I
this.
just
There you
did it
go.
unmute.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Perfect.
I'm not sure what's going on with internet and everything here. It's been very cold and it still is. It's 22 below zero, but it's so beautiful today. Blue sky, sunshine, and a lot of happy birds at my bird feeder. It's just been so fun just watching them. I had a hard time just pretending I was not pretending, but envisioning myself as a flicker because he was the first one out this morning when I brought the feeders out, and he was very intent. Very intent on getting some food, and it was very quiet. There were chickadees that said a few little things, and juncos and pygmy nuthatches, but for the most part, it was very quiet. And then the finches arrived, the goldfinches and the house finches, and there was lots of noise. and and I could almost feel the flicker like, oh boy, there goes the neighborhood. And he took off then. You know? And actually, a lot of the chickadees and the juncos they went to the tops of the trees. And so the finches had the feeder, and they just, I couldn't help but feel what they were feeling because they seemed so joyous. You know, oh, the flicker just came back because the finches just took off. So I think the finch prefers to eat without all the finch noise. But I've got Harrys and Downies out there now, and I had a couple of mourning doves and blue jays, and it just seems like everybody's just very jubilant this morning that the sun is out and there's stuff to eat. So, but the flicker seemed very, very, he's very focused and very intent on what he's doing. He's getting that food. So
Yeah, I love that. I feel like you really tapped into the flicker persona because that sense of just like, oh God, here they are, you know, like I'm just gonna get out of here and go do my own thing, you know, and because they do sort of seem like loners, you know, and they just sort of like their own space and just like, you know, they don't care when things are like, I guess what do I mean by that? like for people, like we can be relatively close to a flicker, but it doesn't care because it's just so focused on its own work, you know? But like if you get
Yeah.
too close or too annoying, it's just like, ah, I'll go somewhere else, you know?
Yeah. I'll come back later.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Thanks, Linda. That's cool.
sure. You bet.
I know. So for me, I was really excited because sometimes I think I've told you guys this before that when we start the session, the birds, you know, have been singing in the morning, and for me, it's already like, you know, 12 o'clock or so right now, and usually the birds will be vocal for the first like 5 or 10 minutes, and then they just get quiet, and I don't see or hear them really very much during our sessions. But today it was lasted a little bit longer, and the mockingbird was here, and so I actually got to watch the mockingbird for quite a while before it just disappeared behind me. And when I was imagining myself, I forget which part we were on. I think it was what it feels like to be in their body, and so I just tried to, I watched it go from like being quiet on this little shrub and standing on the edge of a branch, and then it jumped down and it started to like flick the leaves up, and then it must have caught something in its bill, and I kept imagining like, oh, it's that leaf is like dry, and so I'm just feeling like the dryness of the leaf on my face, and then I realized just how sensitive their bills probably are, and feeling for like something soft and moist, you know, like a little grub or whatever it might be, and just how they could be very quick, you know, when you see certain birds like towhees and things like that, or even juncos like on the ground, they're just sort of like flicking through the leaf litter, and it seems like it happens so fast, and I'm like, how are they finding anything? They're just moving so quickly. And then I realized, like, if it's true, I'm not sure if it is, but the way I felt as a mockingbird today, you know, I was like, oh, my bill is so sensitive that I can feel that moist, cold, you know, soft creature compared to like the dry, crunchy leaves and whatever. And so it was just fun to have that experience, you know, and just a different tactile way of knowing the world in the way that we do. You know, I think kids do that a lot. Like they put a lot of things up to their mouths and their lips, you know, to like get to know it. And I think even we still do as adults a little bit, but not, it's probably like less socially appropriate to do that. So I think we do less of it, you know. But anyway, it was just fun to let myself be the mockingbird today, and I just really, it's one of my favorite friends here in this yard, and I realized I don't know all of its favorite places to sit, and it actually had a friend not too far away from it today, so I got curious about that friend too. I was just like, who are you? Yeah. Anyway, well, thanks for listening. And Julia, I see your hand is raised. Go for it.
There we go. So it's balmy here. We're up now to 9 degrees compared to the others here. And we're not typically, you know, down in single digits or below zero, though I think we were last night. And I peeked out this morning to see if there was more snow overnight. There wasn't, and my yard is covered with rabbit tracks. And I thought, why are you getting out in this? It's so cold and it's snow. What are you going to eat out here? Anyway, they did it. So I had a goldfinch at my feeder. Now I got a new finch feeder that was easier to take apart and clean, you know, when I needed to. And they don't care anything about this finch feeder. And I have really good food in there, you know, from little sunflower bits and thistle and, you know. But they've come because I put out these suet bits in the feeder yesterday so they could get some warmth. And so they're there. And I had a couple of questions arise because there's a north wind. And the feeders are swinging like this, but they're down in the platform feeder, you know, out of the wind. And I know how they can puff themselves up, trap air, you know, so they have a down jacket, so to speak, to be warmer. But I'm wondering if their outer feathers serve as a windbreaker. And I also wonder how sensitive their feet are to the cold, because anything they're going to perch on, you know, is going to be really cold. And does that send cold sensations through their body, you know? So I have those questions.
Trying to unmute myself. There we go. Are those questions, Julia, that you want to sit with to find your own answers to, or were you asking them because you want
I was asking you, actually.
Nice, nice. Yeah. So what I know about birds' feet is a little bit, have you ever seen like the bird where when it just sort of sits on one leg and has the other one on the ground? So apparently they can feel cold. I think it's a different sensation than we have. So when we look out and we see a bird, like, oh, the poor thing's so cold. It's not the same as it would be for us sitting out there, like with our naked foot on the ground, and being like, oh my God, that would be so cold. But they do bring one foot up at a time to kind of like warm it in their, up in their feathers, and then they switch and they'll bring the other one up to warm it. And so there's been some studies on that, and you could look it up online. I don't remember exactly to the extent that they feel the cold. But they can get cold. It's just different. They have the capacity to lower their own body temperatures and to go into torpor, where their heart rate, everything moves slower, and they don't need to be as warm because they just slow everything down a great degree. And so, yeah, but I don't have like a hard and fast like scientific answer for you on that one, but there have been studies, people have researched that, and certainly something that you could look up. But I love the question that you asked about the windbreaker effect of the feathers. I've never thought of it like that before. I thought of it as like they're waterproof, so the water beads off of them. Sometimes you can see a wet bird and they shake, they have to shake the water off of them because it can get kind of waterlogged. But I love that idea of the windbreaker, and I don't know. That's just a great question, and that's why I love doing these kinds of things where we put ourselves in the bird's experience, because things come up to us that we might not ever think about, when we actually put ourselves in their feet, So, yeah, thanks for that question, Julie. I love it. Cool. Anyone else want to share before we head out? I think we've heard from just about everybody. Yay. Well, thanks y'all for playing. And I mean, keep going with it. If you had a particular bird that you were following today and were being, then just keep, let yourself do that a little bit more with that one the next time you're out with it, or try that with another one. One of you said you wanted to go and check out the geese in your area, and that'd be fun just to, even if you jump in the car and go do it and just see what they're doing and just imagine what it would be like to be them in that moment and see what arises for you. So good job playing, everybody. And I feel like it's not fair. It's like I'm hot. I'm starting to sweat here. It's getting warm out today. We are going to get some cold temperatures, but all of y'all are in like really cold temperatures. And I've lived most of my life in colder parts of the world. So I don't mind it right now, but yeah, it does feel a little funny to be out here and like taking my jacket off when most of you are barely able to stay outside. So thanks for playing. And actually I think Claudia left, but I just wanted to say like, good job, Claudia, for she braved the outdoors for a little bit. She took on the challenge. So, and yeah, nice job all of you who did. And if you chose not to, then I totally respect and appreciate, because it's very cold where a lot of you are. So have a good day, and I'll see you next week. Keep having fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Yeah.
yes, bye.
You too.